What is up, my friends? Welcome to Friday's episode, Craft of Fatherhood podcast. This is your guide, Ned Shout. I believe our role as fathers has the power to change the world simply by knowing who we are and embracing the adventure. I'm going to get back into doing kind of some short series. So this is going to be a 4-part series on what is sacred. What do you consider sacred? When I think of sacred, I think of holy, I think of set apart, I think of respected. So like as a family, this is the question for you right now. If you just listen to this, here's the question for you. What is sacred in your home? What's sacred? And is the thing that is sacred really what's most important to you that you want to communicate to your kids? So some areas that I'm going to talk about over the next few weeks, I'm going to talk about mom and dad today, like our mom and dad respected. And then our home and self-respected. Is sex respected? Is that something that is considered sacred in your home? Is there a faith that is considered sacred and respected? What are other things in your home that you're communicating to your kids? These are sacred things. These are things that are important. The way that I treat, respond, react, and honor these things is at a high level so that then the intention is that while you're living in this house, you're taught that this thing matters. And then the hope is that it's passed down from generation to generation. Because one of the questions that I'm asking guests on the show right now is like, how are you going to pass your faith to your kids? I think that in some ways we've kind of moved away, right? We don't want to be legalistic. We don't want to push things on our kids, but it's like, okay, I think brushing your teeth is important, so I'm going to force my kid to brush their teeth twice a day until they just figure out to do it on their own. Now, I know once you start implementing, depending on what you grew up as it relates to faith, there might be things where it's like, man, this was shoved down my throat to an extent where it's like, for me, it was like, okay, we don't celebrate Halloween. We don't celebrate Halloween. Drinking is bad. These kinds of things. Now, have you thrown too much away because you've been moving away from those maybe legalistic things that you're not holding true, that there are certain things that still matter, still are sacred to you? So let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about today, as you leave this conversation, I want you to think about what's sacred and what do you want to be communicating to your kids? And then is there anything that is sacred that maybe you're communicating that you don't want to? So, okay, one for me, I think if my kids were all pulled into a room individually, they'd probably say, Dad cares so much about time. Dad cares a lot about time. Or I think sometimes I can actually tie too many things to money. So I can be like, this cost that much, so you should respect it, versus you should respect it because it's a thing that deserves to be respected. Whatever it could be. It could be a bike. It could be refrigerator. It could be whatever. Sometimes I tie something's value to its actual monetary value. So those are two things that I don't know that I want to be at the end of my life or my kids move out, that there's like a negative view that I made that too sacred. But then I think sometimes maybe sex is an example. It's like, are we leaning into this enough? Are we talking about enough without making it like it's bad, it's bad? So let's go with something simple today. So our mom and dad respected. And let's just lean into for you and I, or the fathers, the household, as we think about, am I letting things slip by with me that I shouldn't? Or am I letting things not slip by? Or am I getting too mad? The opposite would be, am I getting too mad about something that isn't really a big deal, that I'm maybe taking personal offense, or I'm getting offended by something that really doesn't need to be? So I'm putting my kids in a situation where they're walking on eggshells around me. So something for you to consider for yourself is, am I demanding respect in a way? Or am I holding accountability to respect? Scripture, Bible says, honor your father and mother. So this is something we need to be teaching to our kids. And especially I'm noticing it right now with my son who's, transitioning from a boy to a man, right? It's going to take a few years, but there are ways that he gets offended or shows up or things don't go his way, and he speaks in a way that's not okay. And so it's leaning into, hey, dude, don't snap at your mom like that. Don't respond to your mom like that. You're not renting a room here, right? You're respect. Like I literally just called him 20 minutes ago to say, Mom texted you and your sister 2 hours ago to see what you guys are doing. Your sister responded. You didn't. It's a sign of respect. Like you just need to respond. It's simple, right? It's simple. And partly it's like, oh yeah, sorry, Dad, I'm just running around with my friends. We're out, whatever. And so part of it is like, do I need to come down? Like, get home, get your ass home right now. Your phone's taken away. Maybe not. This wasn't an intentional disrespect. It was him transitioning into boyhood to manhood. I got to call him out. Hey, your mom deserves respect. And so respect is a simple acknowledgement that she texted you and had a question for you. So honoring father and mother. Now, one thing as you lean into is mom's role sacred? Is it respected? Is mom respected? And it's out of honor. It's not out of this like iron fist. It's out of honor. It's that the way that they see her is like this. Wow, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I want to honor this woman. Now, as you and I lead our children into that, scripture, if Ephesians 6:4, like, don't provoke your kids to the point like you're pushing them, you're so hard on them that they just are broken and defeated. Now, I think that we could go too far with that and I'm guilty of this and I'm working on it, is discipline is good. Discipline is good. Discipline is good. Legalistic, I'm going to, grind you into the ground because there's zero grace. That's not good. But I do think sometimes, myself included, too much of the time lean on grace. And it's not even grace if I'm letting my kid be disrespectful and lazy, right? There's a difference there. That's enabling them to be entitled adults or children forever. And that's not what we want. So this week, start to consider what is sacred, what is highly honored, respected, regarded in your home. Are there things that you want to be, things that you don't want to be? And really, as fathers, number one thing is mom respected? Now, it's going to come from how you see your wife and how you treat her. So are you living up to the, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church? Well, what does that mean? That means die daily. Doesn't mean be a passive baby. It doesn't mean treat her like your own mom. It means, are you serving that family? Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a podcast coming out with John Gillespie. I did one with the son. Now I did one with the father. It'll be out, I think, on the 17th. Incredible. Highly, highly recommend listening. It's one of the best conversations I've had. I needed to hear it. And one of the things that he said was, your house is not your castle. Your house is your Calvary. It is where you go to die and become a man. And go to die not to be a passive pool boy, but to show up and serve, to serve those that have been placed in your care. All right, my friends, if this is helpful, if this is getting you thinking about how important your role is, please write a review, share it with a friend. Remember who you are. You're a father, and that matters. You matter. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. Much love to you, my brothers. Together, we're changing the world. I look forward to hanging out with you next week, where we'll continue the conversation around what is sacred in your home.